Hi everyone, I'm Hudson Yang, and I'm the star of ABC's Fresh Off the Boat, and I've been involved with active change for quite some time now. And I am proud to be a member of the organization's advisory council, and I'm also excited to be today's host for this panel, Youth, the Power of Youth, Young Voices, and Platforms. Now, in addition to API Heritage Month, May is also usually a time when young people are gearing up for summer and getting ready to take as much needed break from school. But after the difficult year we've all had, and that's required major adaptations to a COVID world, and everything really. All amongst the backdrop of xenophobic, racist attacks against the AAPI community and a lot of other people, it's been so hopeful and refreshing to see other young people who are speaking out and leveraging their platforms for good, finally. Our panelists today are inspiring so many others in some cases, using their literal voices to increase representation and decrease the racial tropes and stereotypes in our communities. So without further ado, joining us today are three incredible young women, Momona Tamada, Leela Ladnier, and Jasmine Shao. I hope I didn't mess up those names. Please tell me if I did. Momona plays Claudia Kishi in the hit Netflix series The Babysitter's Club, and she also portrays the young version of the main character Lara Jean in the Netflix film trilogy To All the Boys I've Loved Before. Two great shows. Not gonna lie, I love them. Leela is the voice of Disney's first South Asian lead TV character in Disney Junior's Mira the Royal Detective. The show follows a brave and resourceful Mira, a commoner, who is appointed to the role of royal detective by the Queen in the fictional land of, how do I say that? Jaipur, all right. And Jasmine is a UCLA student who provides advice to her 731,000 YouTube subscribers on her channel Study Quill, which is all about portraying studying as an enjoyable task. I know what it's like having a lot of pressure and to hold this massive responsibility of racial representation and carefully walk this tightrope of not leaning into these racial stereotypes, but also embracing the authentic parts of our culture, So I wanted to ask you a few questions about that. I'm gonna start with you, Momona. So Claudia Kishi is a beloved character for so many Asian American girls and me. For many, it was the first time they saw representation in the novels they read while growing up. In fact, I think there's a whole documentary on Netflix about the impact of the character on Asian American authors. So first, how does it feel to bring this cherished character with so many years of history to screen? And how does that play into your feelings about representing Asian Americans as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, it's such an honor to bring Claudia to screen. She is such a beloved character, like you said. And, I think she's grown with so many different generations. So having this opportunity was just this huge step for me. I love how she's just such a bold character who breaks just so many different stereotypes. And I think she's such a great representation for young Asian American girls or just girls all around the world. And boys, actually. And I think she's really inspiring lots and just so many just people and really giving them, sorry, how do I put this? She's just so unapologetically herself. So I think that's such a great inspiration for so many people around the world.
All right, I'm going to Leela. As a fellow Disney member, I wanted to ask you how Disney briefed you about Mira, because South Asians have historically been represented in a very certain way in our media, and the stereotypes surrounding them seem to be they're the punchline of a joke for many years. So how did they kind of pitch that series to you, and what are they doing to ensure that Mira is represented authentically? It's really important nowadays. I mean, I guess similar to Momona, but maybe in the opposite direction. What does it mean for you to be the voice of a character that so many young kids look up to and are expecting so much of?
Yeah, so I think I was 13 or 14 when I started working on the show, and when I got the job, I was just obviously so excited to be a part of Disney. That was a dream of mine since I was little. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't really think about how much faith I had in a big company to really put all of their effort into making a show as authentic as possible. But Disney completely shut down any doubts that I could have had. They work with cultural consultants. They work incredibly hard to make sure that down to the pronunciation of every single thing that, Indian culture is being portrayed as authentically as possible. And it's so refreshing because I could maybe count on, obviously compared to my mom's generation, I grew up with a lot more representation, but it was baby steps towards, I think, a show like Mira. But I can maybe count on one hand how many shows I would show my kids that weren't offensive or stereotypical in any way. And so that's why I'm so proud to be a part of Mira, because I see firsthand how hard everyone works to create this just culmination of so many years of, people deserving a show like this, and it's so rewarding. And so the fact that kids are going to get to watch the show and see a character like Mira, who, like Momona said, is so unapologetically herself and is so driven to chase her own goals and solve problems for herself and not look to other people to solve them for her. Hopefully kids can look up to that, and I'm just so honored to be a part of that.
Jasmine, I was talking with the prevailing sentiment that Asians are very studious due to the model minority myth, which, is great, but also really sucks. What I love about what you've done is that you've kind of realized that it's something you're good at and made it like accessible to all, and you've kind of monetized it. You're taking advantage of it. So for so many out there, including myself, again, studying just seems like a chore. It's boring, and you've made it enjoyable, which is really awesome. So what do you say to folks who don't know what you do and think you're just kind of playing into the stereotype of, model minority, Asians are good at math, whatever,
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I'd ask anybody who has that response is like, why do you think that? What stereotypes do you hold? I don't want to be too aggressive about that, but it's really something everyone needs to look within themselves and challenge. And secondly, I guess with stereotypes, there also comes this pressure for outstanding young Asians like ourselves to try to break them. And that's a huge responsibility to hold. And it's really not fair to push that on every individual. Like Momona and Leela, you guys do great work in, breaking the stereotypes that currently exist about Asian Americans. But again, it's not our jobs to do that in every aspect of our lives. And we should allow ourselves to also just embrace the things that are stereotypically Asian, like being good at school. I love school and I'm not afraid to say it. And, to my fellow young Asian Americans, don't be scared of things that are stereotypically Asian. I know that at my very Asian San Francisco Bay Area high school, there's sometimes a pressure to be less Asian for college apps, to not seem like a stereotype, but you can still love the things that are stereotypically Asian. It's all about the freedom to choose, not necessarily to just pick the thing that is least stereotypical.
Yeah, when I was writing my college applications, I definitely leaned really heavily into the fact that I'm Asian American, because you know what? It's a really awesome and great part of ourselves that we should definitely be leaning into, because it's important. My question for you, though, on top of that is, what made you when did you realize that you wanted to make this YouTube channel? You wanted to start teaching others how to study and whatnot. What was that process like?
Yeah, honestly, I've always just been a massive nerd. I don't know what it is about it. I love schoolwork. I'm going to be honest. I love learning. I love writing neatly. And I discovered the online community centered around this, which felt really motivating. It was a lot of young Asian American women who really drove the platform anyways. And I felt like I found a group that I really fit into. And then I just got really bored one day and decided I would make videos. Just decided I wanted to be creative like that.
Nice. And you've helped millions with that, I'm sure. And also on the note of writing neatly, I can't do that. I hope you have a lesson on that too, because
I do actually.
Okay, I'll make sure to watch it, because my writing is like doctor's writing, where it's basically chicken scratch. So yeah. Anyways, for so many young AAPI folks, there's pressure to take a more traditional career path, whether it's doctors, engineers, or lawyers. So for all of you, what made it feel possible to do something different? What was it like having those conversations with your parents? What did you say and what could you say to our younger viewers today about pursuing these goals and these dreams that are kind of very different from what their parents expect? Anyone can start.
I'll go. So I kind of have a unique perspective unfortunately, in the sense that my parents are both artists. So growing up, there was this, I hate using the word luck, but I was really fortunate to have two parents who, me doing what they did wasn't so far of a stretch. And I'm really grateful to know that who I am will be accepted no matter where I go, because it was instilled in me from the beginning that I shouldn't change for anyone else. In quarantine, I've become a little bit more introspective. And I've just come to realize as I'm graduating high school that time is really limited and it's precious. And I think when I'm done, I want to be able to say that I did everything in my power to maximize what time I have and live to my fullest potential, and not be hindered by wanting to prove myself to other people or be what other people want me to be. And I think if not many people have the privilege to do this, but I think just have the courage to jump at it and know that the people that are meant to stay in your life and actually be there for you are going to be there with you every step of the way, and let you just make glorious, mistakes and let you fall on your butt. But I think just the only advice I have is just to leap at it and have enough faith in yourself to do it.
And I love that glorious mistakes. It's definitely true. Like mistakes are not an issue. They are a positive. All right, let's move on. Momona?
Yeah, I actually have a similar kind of perspective. Growing up, I think I was surrounded by many just kind of Japanese friends who definitely took different career paths. And I've been like, you mentioned, I don't really want to use like kind of the word fortunate, but just my parents have never really enforced me to just, you know, take the quote unquote stereotypical path. And I'm so grateful for that they are like kind of open to what I want to do in the world. And I know that that can be a definite like present struggle that many face today. But I think I just want to say that be yourself, you know. I think you'll get to where you want to be by just being you. And I find that that's how I kind of got into acting, and just, you know, do what you love. Like Jasmine said, even though like if it's quote, like if it's on, like if what you're doing is following like the stereotypical kind of like standards, then, but if it's what you love, then just kind of go for it. I mean, it's just choose what you kind of want to do. And I think you shouldn't be worried about what anyone else has to say about it, because you're just you know?
And Jasmine?
Yeah, I guess I had a pretty different like family experience. My parents are both computer engineers. I live in the Bay Area. I'm surrounded by my entire neighborhood. It seems like it's doctors and computer engineers. That's pretty normal to me. But I definitely feel like my parents have always allowed me to do whatever I think is best for me. They really trust me, and I'm really grateful for that. There is still like a pretty pervasive sense of like, oh, computer engineering is the way to go. Like, oh, you're studying linguistics? That's a great way to get into AI. Like, maybe that's not what I want. Like, that's kind of the narrative that's pushed onto me. And I've done my best to think about, like, you know, there is stuff beyond what you see, like around you in the most heavily Asian American communities. And I know, again, it's really hard for most people to break out of it. Like, I've only been able to because I got super lucky that my YouTube channel became monetizable. Yeah. Most people don't get that lucky because most creative careers, you know, require a little bit of that luck to jumpstart it. But even if you feel like you might not be lucky enough to do that, don't take the pressure that you get from, I guess, a lot of our immigrant parents as like the entire guide to how you should be. I know there's a lot of like, oh, I came here to America, so you could have a better life. So you should study to be a doctor so you can make a lot of money or something like that. And like, you know, our parents want us to be stable and have a good, stable lifestyle. But I think the reason that they come here is for us to be happy. And if you're not going to be happy doing that, like Leela and Momona both said, just, you know, find a way to be happy, even if it's not necessarily what that pressure of a stereotypically Asian path tells you to do.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, and not to brag, I do have 200 followers on YouTube, so you know, kind of like the same level, definitely. Final question. So there's a lot of pressure on us when, you know, we're so young, not that young, but young enough to do so well in school, so that it will set us up for future success in the future. You know, going to college and getting a job. Now, on top of that, with the pandemic, rise in AAPI hate crimes and bullying in AAPI youth communities, the pressure feels even more intense, you know. So Act of Change released an Asian American Youth Bullying Report in partnership with, I don't know how to say this, and Mercia and Nextshark this year. The report stated that 80% of Asian American youth reported experienced bullying. 70% of the youth also experienced or saw an increase in cyberbullying in 2020. It's tough. I mean, these statistics are shocking and horrifying and unfortunate. And, you know, I'm not surprised given what I'm seeing online as well. So what are you guys doing to take care of your mental health? And what advice could you guys give to others on, you know, exactly that? Let's start with you this time, Jasmine.
Yeah, sure. I guess the one thing I want to encourage is that, like, getting professional mental health help is nothing to be ashamed of. There's definitely a stigma for that amongst many Asian Americans. But again, it's completely normal. And it's also very safe and confidential in the US compared to some countries where our parents might come from. And it's like getting help for a physical injury too. Like there's no shame in getting surgery for a broken foot. So getting a healthcare professional to take care of your brain is also completely normal and good.
Respect. All right. Who's next?
I just think I have a different perspective on that. If you really don't feel like you have access to that kind of professional help, something that I've found just from the beginning, something that I was just really drawn to was the idea of creating your own self-therapy through like artistic expression or creative expression. So some people say like, go take a walk, go draw. But like really, I found that like just writing down my thoughts, or, in quarantine, I got really serious about guitar playing and songwriting and just finding different ways to let whatever craziness I have going up here, like manifest itself into more productive or useful things that I could actually understand rather than just letting it all build up. It's really important. I know so many kids in the South Asian community and Asian community feel trapped and feel like sometimes they might not have someone that can relate to them to talk to. So I think it's important that you feel comfortable enough with yourself to create your own kind of bubble and your own little world that you can go to whenever you feel trapped or misunderstood.
Thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing your stories with these fellow young people watching this panel. And, for showing everyone that we can all do our part in speaking out against racism as well as living out our dreams. I mean, I guess we're all kind of doing that. So for more Asian American youth bullying stats, like the ones I mentioned earlier, check out the URL on the ticker below. And thank you to At The Change, Admirasia, and NextShark for leveraging data to help fight bullying within the community. And again, for the last time, thank you guys so much for being here. You guys are all super awesome. Yeah, unashamed to be yourselves, and I love it so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, guys.